The European International Championships just wrapped up in London with the winning deck being Klawf Terapagos, piloted by the highly skilled Japanese player Ryuki Okada. Another highly skilled Japanese player, Kato Arai, also ran this list and placed 284th. The semi-finalist was Natalie Millar, piloting Dragapult, who is also an incredibly skilled player from Australia. Personally, I expected Dragapult EX to be extremely popular and a good choice for the tournament, but I didn't expect Klawf Terapagos to end up doing so well, and why Okada specifically chose it, since he also won a regional back in September with the deck that wasn't a popular choice, and that was Dragapult back then. So this video is more focused on the Klawf Terapagos deck and what led to the choice behind it, as well as why it might have been a great pick to the tournament, and how it shaked out. I'm not as skilled as Okada though, so I also encourage you to check out his channel that he also mentions, called Haru Channel, and you can see Kato as well featured frequently. I'll have it linked. So at first glance, we see that Klawf Terapagos, there's a lot of numbers involved inside this poison package deck. I also did a video on it when it boomed in popularity, and we get to revisit it now. So Terapagos hits for 240 damage if you have a full bench of 8 Pokemon thanks to Area 0 being in play. But in reality, you're really just hitting for 220 since you power it up with double turbo energy, which counts for 2 energy at the cost of 20 less damage. Klawf hits for 190 damage when affected by a special condition, which brings it back down to 170 with a double turbo attached. And honestly, both these numbers on its face value is underwhelming. It doesn't knock out big Pokemon like Gholdengo EX at 260 HP or Dragapult with its massive 320 HP number. But the deck is built to go further than the damage listed just on the Pokemon's moves themselves, and it's integrating cards and strategies to reach necessary numbers and set up multiple paths to victory in unconventional ways. And I say unconventional because it's not the Pokemon you fear in these decks, it's more like the tools and all the pieces that come together. That's why we see weird Pokemon like Oranguru, who is threatening not as an attacker, but as a tool finder. And tools like Binding Mochi are going to allow our damage numbers to go up. And finding Ancient Booster Energy Capsule means we attach to Brute Bonnet and unlock the potential of the Poison Takeover. This deck isn't about worrying about all the Pokemon, but it's just all the combination of things, as well as just the pieces for these unique combos. And they are kind of unique. It's why Okada's deck list features things like 2 Hisuian Heavy Balls, which for some might seem unnecessary at first, but a skilled player like Okada really does it to signal that there's pieces in the deck that are so powerful and necessary that he doesn't want to get them prized and locked out of a game for a long period of time. Having a double count really shows that he just wants to get these specific cards and do the specific thing. And it works. Consistency for these combos is so powerful. There's 2 Lumineon, there's 2 Forest Seal Stones, there's 2 Badoo. This really does show how powerful consistency and the necessity of the unique combos is. And yeah, there's some unique ones. Take Poisoned Badoo for example. If Brute Bonnet is found, along with the Capsule Energy, you can poison both active Pokemon. And although we know Itchy Pollen only does 10 damage while item locking, we saw Okada doing something peculiar throughout the tournament run, and that's attaching the Binding Mochi to Badoo in order to poison it, whilst making it hit for 50 damage rather than 10. Which means we saw incredible plays where Badoo was able to knock out little Pokemon like Gimmighoul in top 4, and opponents might do a double take, but the math works out to where 50 damage, plus the usual 10 for poison during checkup, but Hisuian Sneasler being present makes it 30 damage during checkup, and that's how Badoo can KO 70 HP Gimmighoul and Dreepies. Perhaps the anticipation of seeing decks like Gholdengo and Dragapult led to the decision to utilize Badoo in a way that not just locks items, but can take away important pieces and gain a prize early on. And remember, Pokemon knocked out by poison doesn't trigger Pheasantipede EX's ability, which allows you to draw 3 if one of your Pokemon was knocked out by an opponent's attack, which is so subtly powerful. I guess I shouldn't even say subtly, it just is so straight up powerful, and I think a lot of players know that if you've played it. and knowing the numbers is just key to understanding the deck and its threat level as well. During top 4, Okada was able to one-hit KO a 260 HP Goldango because there were 7 Pokemon on the bench. Terapagos did 210 damage. The DTE brings it to 190 damage, but then the attached Mochi adds 40 damage, and then 10 damage from Poison during checkup, but then another 20 damage during checkup thanks to Sneasler, which brings it to a clean KO of 260. Okada obviously knows the numbers by heart, but for others it might take a second to calculate, but there's some hesitancy, but the numbers do work out, and I'm sure that Okada had to maybe explain this a bit, and even as me as a player, it does take a second to realize how all this stuff comes together to just do 260. And it was crazy seeing how often it was pulled off and easily just grabbed. I mean, like I said, the deck is full of consistency cards and opportunities to get the right pieces, to get the right numbers. And it was an exceptional game played whenever we saw Okada. Natalie's an exceptional player as well. Her piloting of Dragapult is phenomenal as well, we saw, and I wish we could have seen more. I also had to bring up the donk potential of the deck as well, since the finals were about 26 minutes long, with game 1 and 3 being won by Okada in like less than 3 minutes. An unfortunate ending for Natalie, who is an exceptional player as well, exceptional Dragapult pilot, but sometimes that just happens in the card game. Game 1 ended after all Natalie could do was pass a turn with a single Fezandipity in the active spot, and Okada was able to grab the pieces for a quick win, since Klawf is a fighting type hitting Fezandipity for weakness. I and the casters assumed that it was Okada going turn 1, but once the realization hit that this was actually his turn 2, and all Natalie could do was pass it off, yeah, it was rough to watch.
This is the opportunity to do that first deck search here and actually identify exactly what is available. Actually, hang on. This is actually...
Yeah, that double turbo. Yeah, I took a bit of a... what are we looking at?
The support has been played. Does that mean Natalie actually went first and it was just a pass back over?
Oh, if this is turn 1 for Ryuki after Natalie's had a turn, that is terrible. You're right. If Ryuki's playing a supporter, that means Natalie had a full turn where she did nothing. Oh, and that's already game 1. Ryuki's already won game 1. Natalie has nothing. Ryuki wins game 1. We're going to game 2 with less than 2 minutes taken off the clock.
Game 2, though, was a proper game and a win for Natalie, and it was wonderful to see. But game 3 ended just as quickly as game 1, having Oranguru to find 2 tool cards, since it's in the active, the Forest Sealstone and the Ancient Booster Capsule, and then using the Precious Trolley to get Latios for free retreat, Brute Bonnet for poison, Radiant Sneasler and Pecharunt who can drop an additional 5 damage counters onto a poison Pokemon, all leading to a donk on a 70 HP Dreepy. It happened so quickly, and that was that. I'll have a link for you to watch the finals if you still haven't, but all those things led to this being a great deck to choose and pilot and stuff, and also it was piloted by a super skilled player with Okada to win the whole thing. I hope this helped as a quick summary and a look into this intricate deck, for sure.